Hi, welcome back to StoryHive On Location Kelowna. I'm Robb O'Day, and we are live in Kelowna with another episode brought to you by TELUS STORYHIVE. Today we're in Kelowna sitting down with the dynamic duo of Tube Screamer, I want to say electronic metal, reggae, rock. There is no word or genre that can really describe who they are. How are you guys doing?
Nice. Very good.
Stoked to be here, guys.
Yeah, thanks for having us. I'm Felipe.
Thanks for having me.
And this one goes by Chris.
Yes.
So let's dive in right away with, where are you guys from?
I'm one of those Ontario transplants. So I came out to Kelowna from London, Ontario.
Before moving to Kelowna, how were you involved in the music scene in Ontario?
In Ontario, I played in like a bunch of bands and playing in like the university jazz band. Like I had a whole jazz stint. Yeah. And then when I moved out to Kelowna, I've always wanted to play with a DJ. I'm always playing along to mixes. And I was like, I just need to find a DJ that I can like drum with, because I've been so into electronic music. And back home, it was a thing, but I didn't really have or know anyone that could DJ in the way that I would connect with musically on the drums. So when I came out here and started trying to find some raves, like trying to find some electronic music, and then the first show I found was through Vibes Familia and Felipe, and that's the first time we met, was me just coming out to the Vibes shows. And eventually, I think it took us a few years to finally like figure out, okay, like I'm looking for a DJ and this guy was looking for a drummer. So we're just like, oh, okay, finally. Why did this take so long? Let's jam.
Yeah.
And then he had his EP release party coming up, and he's like, I would love to have some live drums for that. So we just started playing together in his old garage, and I remember like after our first jam, he was like, oh my God, yes, finally. Like I found a drummer, and he hands me one of those old Tube Screamer hoodies.
Yeah.
And he's welcome to the band. And that was almost 3 years ago now.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
So that's where I'm from.
That's wicked. That's a cool story. And Felipe?
I am from Bogota, from Colombia, and I've been in Canada for something like 16 years, I believe. And yeah, it all started there in Colombia. I come from a family that really enjoyed playing live instruments just for fun. I think that kind of made me realize I should do music. And yeah, it just started there. I moved here and did audio engineering class in Vancouver, and that's when I was like, I need to be Canadian. And then I became a Canadian.
With music school that made me want to be Canadian.
Yeah, I don't think it was just a music school, but like the people I met, I was like, oh my God, this country is crazy and pretty cool level. Like Canadian people are so nice. And we were just talking about this before the interview started, about how things in here, music-wise, it's like there is a weird vibration. It's really unique. It's not like you can say, oh, that's Canadian music, but at the same time, it's like when you hear, oh, that's from Canada, I'm always mind blown. I'm like, yeah, there's a lot of culture freedom here. One of the biggest differences between the Colombian music and the Canadian music, for example, to me, was the sound systems. Because when I was in Colombia, believe it or not, they don't put a lot of effort into the subs. The first time I heard bass music on a sound system, I was like, oh, I think I should like get into this and understand it better. And it's something that I think that's why bass music is not so big in South America. It's just because people don't know how that feel. Like you have to be in front of a sub wall listening to a really good DJ to really understand what bass music and sound system culture is all about. When I arrived, I think like my favorite thing to hear was still metal and punk, but at the same time there was this crossover with electronic music. Like I think Canada also is leading on some electronic music, and just the culture. I just wanted to throw that in there. Biggest festival difference between Colombia and Canada is you can go to an electronic music party in the mountains in Colombia until wee hours, it's never gonna equate to you go to Shambhala and just leave your tent and you're like with your best friends and nothing can ruin that. Nobody's gonna be intentionally disrespectful, and if that happens, people are gonna stop that, and so you can let your guard down. And then I never experienced that in Colombia. I always had my guard up. And I think that translates musically. I think that's what I was trying to say. I can hear that on the music in Canada. When you hear something that blows your mind and is Canadian, Godspeed Black Emperor or Engine de Poitrine, the band that I was showing you guys earlier, you hear that and you're like, oh my God. Like, you need some kind of mental craziness and less barriers for that to be able to happen.
When you were experiencing traveling the world before coming to Kelowna, you had obviously worked with music in Colombia. Did you get a chance to play music in Colombia while you were there?
So when I spent, it was like 2 years ago now, when I was in Colombia, there was a few guys from a cover band I was playing in at the time, like a lot of my close friends in Merge 9. And our lead singer, JD, we went around looking for bars that would let us play, or like bands that would let us sit in. So we did end up playing a few tunes in Colombia.
That's so cool.
So it's just fun to jump in a new space.
I can imagine
a random crowd. Shortly after I turned 18, I left high school for a bit to go tour in Ireland with the band. And that was my first taste of solo travel. The guys I was playing with were in their mid to late 20s. Funny enough, I was the responsible one. I was always like, we need to be rehearsing, and we need to be not partying as much as is going on. Like, I was young voice of reason.
I started being a traveling musician after I left my country for the first time. And so I had a good 5 or 10 years of my life where, like, everywhere I would go, I would bring my controller and I would play. And that's how I ended up playing in Mexico. I just went for a vacation, but I brought my stuff, and I was like, hey, can I play? Sure, yeah, come here. And I was like, yeah, cool. I'm like DJing in Mexico now. I love this. And it all started in Colombia because I did travel there. And okay, the big difference though is like the roads, like what you were saying about the distance, like is very true. Definitely one thing that has influenced the culture here, being in winter and isolated a little bit. I lived in Winnipeg, and shout outs to Winnipeg, and Winnipeg has crazy musicians, and I like Venetian Snares is from Winnipeg, and this is music that you hear and you're like, these people are nuts. And I love it, and it just I think you're right. That was my first bet. My first guess was like, what else is people going to do in -40? It's not like you can go out and do anything. I think generally, I guess like there are cities in U.S. that have like New York probably gets pretty cold too, but you definitely have places where there is no winter. For example, there is, but it's like very mild.
Yeah.
Versus here is like when it's winter.
Yeah, you don't go outside.
Yeah.
I don't. So when you started off doing DJing and you've evolved into a two-piece that does electronic and adds guitar live, what was the key moment when you're like, I'm adding guitar to this performance to make it just a tad bit heavier?
I played bass on a punk band like when I was like 12 years old. And it just started, like, I felt that energy, and like we were talking about it earlier, I love that. The first time I was playing on a stage and people were mosh pitting, I'm like, my God, this is my bread and butter right here. And for the rest of my life, I want to pursue this exact feel. And it just felt connected and felt like we're sharing this energy with a bunch of humans. And I'm actually, like, blissed out playing notes and like and speaker, like everything made sense there. So then I started playing metal after that, and that was a trip because I played metal for 4 years or so, and it just became my religion. That was my first touring as a musician. I went to like different places in Bogota, and after experiencing punk, which is really nice, I experienced metal, and the unity in metal is just another level. Like, I have yet to experience that on any show. It's so unique when you're at a metal show and you are part of it and you're like in the audience, you're with the band and you're feeling this energy together. I never experienced that on electronic music. I now is DJing and I DJ, and don't get me wrong, I love DJing, I love electronic music. I would just play that and I'm like, there was something missing. There was always something missing. I just didn't get that. And I think part of it, thinking about it right now, it was mainly the fact that I don't think I was doing much but playing a track. And music is so powerful. You're a vocalist or you're a drummer or something. You actually have to push yourself to be on time, to remember stuff. Like, not just for the next minute. You're every single second you're there. As a DJ, you get your moments when you're like, okay, take a breather. Like, you're in a band, you don't get a breather. That's the hour you're there. You're like entirely there. And not to say that I think there is another level of DJing. If I was a scratch DJ, maybe like DJ Thistle,
Yeah.
shoutouts. Man keeps busy, right? Like, he's playing vinyl, he's like scratching, he's doing all these things. You can actually be very intrinsic about your DJing. But I just felt it just wasn't like there is. Doing a scratch never will feel the same as like playing a chug in my guitar.
Or the feeling of the vibration through your arm when you like hit an acoustic drum kit. It's like just every hit you make just vibrates through your body.
What really made me, when we were booking the festival this year, and we canceled it, was one thing that really made me want to have you guys on the festival was the uniqueness. You can book any metal band, and realistically, you're going to get the same thing. At the end of the day, whichever metal band, you're going to get loud, fast music. But to find a group that is pushing the limits, like actually pushing the limits of what is the norm for creating music as a live set, was something that really captivated me, which is why I was saying check out the Monotonics, because they're an Israeli band that is like a three-piece, and the drummer ends up taking his kit, setting it up on the crowd, and then he's playing, and the singer's on a piece of his drum kit playing, and they're all on the crowd playing their set, and you're just like, what is going on right now? Or original lineup of Fever 333, where the guitar player would like crowd surf while playing guitar, and then you have Eric and Prada who's like putting his kit on and playing on top of the crowd, like those kind of things. So just what made me really gravitate to you guys was like, oh, it's a drummer, a guitar player, oh wait, he's a DJ, and he's playing guitar, and they're doing vocals, and I need to see it live. I have to see it live. And it's like, that right there is the essence of musicians, is being able to like, we have to push the limits. It's our job.
We are an amalgamation of all these influences. Like we've talked about, our experiences hearing a like wall of subs, and like getting that feeling from electronic music that we've both felt. And also the feeling of playing an instrument that DJing could never match. And combining them in a way that brings in all these things that we love and all these influences from like Latin America, and just combining them in a way that we hope is a transcendent experience for the audience. And like, it feels so good when we have people say, that was the most deeply moved I've been from an entire hour of music. All these influences coming together in a way that we can show up and people still feel that full body just vibrations from the bass influence, and then getting to experience, because I love going to see a DJ, don't get me wrong, but going and getting that feeling plus getting to watch two musicians up there playing the drums, playing the guitar, like you get that live experience as well as so you don't have to choose. It's not one or the other. It's like you're getting that whole package in one set. You get all of that. You have something to watch the musicians do, and then you also just get that full like sound experience. And then with something Felipe does, he just enhances so well the track, like where it almost turns it into something different, and it creates a whole new, like, you can hear a song a completely different way, and it's accompanied by the guitar. So yeah,
and it's a really crazy thing to see. And like to you, so when you guys are performing, are you mixing and then picking the guitar up? Like, how do you guys go about, like, how does that start?
I think like the show has evolved a lot throughout the years, which is nice. I think that kind of keeps it really interesting for people to come see us, because we're, like what you said, I firmly believe that we're not meant to be comfortable so we can push our boundaries. And it's just throughout the years we've been trying to figure out like what works and what hasn't. We've been trying, when we go on studio, we're like, oh, this is the way it should be live, and then we go live and you gotta tweak things. Initially, like a few years ago, I started DJing and playing the guitar at the same time, and it's very demanding. I think I was really happy, but at the same time I think I couldn't, like, when you do that, you split yourself. So you can do the DJing you want to do, but you also can't do the guitar stuff that you want to do. You just do the things you can do.
No, I get it. It's true.
And then it was just like, I was on it. I think we played Wicked Woods for a few years, and like a couple of years that we were testing setups. It was just like, this is our setup, and then the next year we're like, no, that's not the setup. We'll test another one. So it started like that because I added it to the DJing. So when I started DJing, and then I was like, man, this track is gonna play for a minute. I could do something. I wasn't gonna go like bam, 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 like, you know. What's up, everybody?
The classic reggae horn. Yeah.
So I definitely feel like it's a good thing for musicians and for artists to feel like they have the responsibility to push it.
I think we have to. I think especially if we want to create something that's going to last, because if you're just doing the same thing that everybody else is doing, you're just doing the same thing that anyone else is doing.
And that's a whole other conversation, because we've talked about this with Chris about nowadays you can just sit down and tell AI, hey, I want a punk song that sounds like
Yep.
Lady Gaga that speaks about capitalism. All right, and then you get a
30 seconds, yeah. 30 seconds later, you got it.
You literally got it. So, like, we are competing against that.
Yeah.
And it's hard to talk about it as a competition. But, like, at the end of the day, for us, it just felt very natural that we actually have a spot that we don't need to fight for our spot, is what I'm saying, because we actually realize that like live music is just it's a commodity now. Like, you are lucky to go see musicians that are actually pushing the boundaries versus the McDonald's of music.
It's literally what I say all the time. I would rather my steak and potatoes than my McDonald's.
Totally.
Yeah.
And so for me, don't get me wrong, like nowadays, if that's why when I separated the projects, is because I want to DJ as a DJ and not have to play guitar, but I also want to play guitar and not have to DJ. So that pretty much defined the setup. Like for us, we're trying to expand, so we've been playing more along the sides of programming. Most people, when they do the live setup, they'll just do CDJs and they'll plug in their live instrument into it. But for us now with Chris, it's like you can't plug in a drum kit to a mixer and just expect it to sound really great. So we had to really think about it. Is you got to sacrifice things in order to make your act be as best as it could be. And to us, it just came down to, like maybe instead of doing a DJ set, we just do a live act. We actually rocked the live DJing, live guitar, live drumming setup for years, like a couple of years. Yeah. And I can tell you, it's like the anxiety was crazy.
Yeah.
But also because, like, we were talking about it, it has to be sustainable. Can you imagine the amount of time it took me to muscle memory, a DJ said, muscle memory my guitar, for him to, like, muscle memory the drums and us to play it together? Like, it was hundreds of hours, literally. We would personally and as a group's band, and like right now the scene, as long as we keep it sustainable, we can do it. And I think like it just came down to that. Is, do we want to keep doing this, or do we want to leave on constant stress, anxiety, and burned out state? Especially with a family. And we were talking about this, Rob. Like, it's like I better spend that anxiety on my kids, right?
Yeah.
On my
You start to feel guilty.
You know?
Yeah. And that's where it's like, where you were saying earlier, you switch from being a musician who just likes playing music to a person who has to look at the business and how you can make it sustainable. And I think that's one of the biggest hurdles for musicians nowadays, especially with, we want to make music. Like, that is what we are. We're musicians. We're meant to make music. We're not meant to be focused on social media and other things. Could you imagine if Jimi Hendrix had to focus on creating content all the time?
Man,
if his music would be
suck.
exactly like,
would suck.
it takes away from what we're supposed to do, and what we're supposed to do is create music that people can resonate with. And it seems that the industry has pushed for like
a different thing,
something completely different. And that's where I feel like there's these two music industries, and you really see the underground constantly thriving because it's independent, but you see a ton of major artists now who are backing out of the music industry in general because they can't sustain to do it anymore. And if the person who was selling millions of records isn't making money anymore, something's going to give. And we're on the verge of it. And you guys were talking earlier today about how SoundCloud, your songs are blowing up on SoundCloud versus you can't put them on Spotify. I'm heavily like moving off of Spotify with all my music and going back to SoundCloud, because SoundCloud's just announced that they're going to be bringing a new platform that is a streaming platform. And I'm like, if SoundCloud brings a streaming platform, then it's just trying to convince the people to move off of all the other things. Because like, you hear people say they want to support the music industry, but if you really did, you'd look at like the numbers and the logistics of what we have to deal with just to put a song out. And it costs more than you'll ever make back. So it's not sustainable unless you're performing, and you have to build yourself a reputation to be able to say, hey, we'd like $200 minimum for them to even be like, yeah, okay. So it becomes, we're living in a really weird time. We're on like this teeter point where the industry is about to change completely. And I feel like the underground is what's going to lead it into this huge independence movement.
I hope so. But yeah. And I think in every era of music, there have been different hurdles and different hardships that musicians have to go through, and they vary so much. Previously, like, there'd be gatekeepers in the music industry where you'd have to follow a specific pathway to get a record deal, to then be in debt to this record company, to then have any chance of getting on MTV and selling records. There's always, and with your fans, then you're physically having to do fan mail. Now everything's digital. Like, we have a whole different set of challenges where certain things are easier now from these technological advancements. But like with the advent of streaming platforms and everything and going all in on that, you're getting paid less money for certain things and people aren't going and buying a record, but it's a whole completely different thing. Musicians have a lot more freedom now to make music for cheap, whereas before you would have to get studio time and there would be all these other barriers in the way to getting your music out there. And once you did, like, sweet. But now everyone has access to distributing their music, to recording high quality music, and it's only going to get crazier with AI.
The music industry is like as fast as AI.
It's a constant evolution, and I think that's what the hardest thing for us facing. It's not even learning our instruments anymore. It's like, how do you get your foot in the door? Because if you want to write music, you can write music all you want, but if you want to, like, I want to do this as a career, there's something about a message that you have to feel that message. You have to feel that Like when I'm on stage and I'm like with the band and I'm screaming at the crowd, like, we need unity. There is no left or there is no right. It's us versus them. But like, we're all one kind of a thing. You see that connection. And you wouldn't have that connection if it wasn't like me face to face with them.
You can't feel that through a Zoom call. Like,
No.
that's for sure.
No, and you can't feel that through streaming either, right? That's where we will always have our value is music. I always say this, like most revolutions are accompanied by a massive music revolution. Like, you had the hippie movement, which was like Woodstock, influenced this whole generation. And then you had like the 70s and the 80s where you had like Vietnam and everyone was against Vietnam. And then the 90s was like, we all got to unite. And then all of a sudden it was like this huge buildup of society being like, yes, we're all united. And then all of a sudden, like, things just crashed. And even the music industry, you see the connection between bands is kind of, maybe not so much in the DJ world, but I've noticed it. There's a huge disconnect between bands with other bands. Like, they're not, there's almost like we all worked together up until a couple of years ago. And then all of a sudden we all stopped working together and started working for ourselves. Instead of creating this big scene globally, you see these little pockets of different genres, and it almost feels like that's happened in every aspect of life, not just music, but it's slowly starting to come back to the norm. And I think that it's, like I was saying earlier, we're on like that teeter point for the industry to fall, and it's meant to fall so that we can rebuild it.
Yeah, and I honestly think like that's a great way to put it. And I do feel like the music does need that reboot point in life. I don't know, you're talking about Woodstock, and I bet people were like, oh man, I don't know, the record labels are crapping it out for us, music sucks now, blah blah blah. And then they were like, oh, we overcome that. When Napster came out and Metallica was like suing people left and right, it's like music is done, man. It's like, I'm pretty sure
it is funny though,
we've faced this multiple times. I think like by far, obviously it just gets more scary. Can you imagine it's like telling a 60s musician like, one day in the future your music will be downloaded for free? No way, man.
Yeah, no, it's true. It is very true. And I think that you see a massive push for hard copies too coming back with vinyls and tapes. Tapes are the biggest seller right now for any band. So I think that the younger generation is starting to realize like they want that physical copy.
Yeah.
Because they want something to hold on to as well.
And I'll add to that is, I think what we've talked about is like what we want to share is an experience. You know, when you used to go to the record shop back in the day and you'd get, oh, the band just put their new CD out. You're going there to buy your CD, man. You listen to that CD,
you don't even
man.
know.
Like you're like going out that record shop and like opening the plastic, and you're like going in your car and you're like, first song, and you listen to the second one, and the third one, and the fourth one, and you're like, oh, I don't like the fourth one, but keep going. It was just a different thing. And I think at the end of the day, that's what I'm really motivated about. Is just like, as humans, sure, you can share a virtual experience, and it's eventually going to be like, oh yeah, plug in your chip in your arm and you're like, be like, but at the end of the day, there is something organic about, and that's why I love playing with Chris. Is just there's something about those little times where you're at a live show and you're like, dude, we're actually oh, I love what you did, and you're like mentally connected to them, and they're like, let's do this one. Oh my god, that felt so good. Okay. Oh, you surprised me there. That's the little chemistry that it's fun to have on a live show that I don't think like you'll ever get like with DJing. And going further, that you're gonna get that with AI. You'll never be able to emulate seeing the chemistry between two humans trying to figure it out.
If you had any advice to give an aspiring musician who is basically trying to start from point A to get to point Z, what would your first initial piece of advice be to give to them?
Get off TikTok. Next.
I know. Just to expand on it, I think like we were talking about it, it's an uphill battle to try to be viral. Right, and I think like that's a very deceiving way of thinking, just because If you write music to be viral, that's one thing. But if you're writing music to storytell, then there's a longer path. My advice would be to not make it a viral thing until you absolutely have to, and just do it because this is the thing that you need to tell people, and this is your voice, and not because it's gonna go viral. That would be my advice, because I fear for generations to come how everything is viral now, and if you're gonna make it in music business, you also have to have a banana phone video on TikTok, and that just makes you lose focus on what really is important, and is what we've been talking about in this. It's like pushing the boundaries, like how much can you reach to people in their hearts rather than in their phones, and things that stay for longer rather than, you can have a viral song, but believe me, like, you don't want to have a viral song, you know.
No,
like,
you
what's
keep up
next
with it.
about that? That's it. You've reached. And it's like, that doesn't lead anywhere.
I'd say step one, do not skip the community building process. Go out to shows, meet other musicians in your scene, build those connections, because that will take you, at least in the initial part of your journey, that will take you further than anything else. Like, people that just want to make music in their bedroom and just promote it from there, like, you can get places, but you really need to build that foundation within your community with other artists and collaborating with other artists, because that's one of the fastest ways you can grow your project, is collaborative releases. Like, split releases, find someone in your genre and really define what your genre is. And sometimes it's hard to define what your genre is, but there's ways, like just going into finding other artists that are similar to you and like diving into their similar artists, and then getting an idea of 10 to 20 different artists that have a similar vibe and feeling to you. And that's the way, like with any, even building a social media account, like just being able to know exactly who is going to be listening to your music and going from there. So that's like step one, starting a music project, is do not skip that process. And then you just build from there.
Fair enough. I want to thank you for your story, and Philippe will be back in a minute, but I will have to wrap up before he gets back here. So I want to thank you for your time, your stories, because both of them are incredible, and like to hear the struggle that you had to get back into your own country, and for him to get here and to find each other and create this unique group that, like I said, there is no definition of it. It's just magic. There's something unique that is being created here that I want to see more of in the world. I want to see more people creating these like unique blends of music. I want to thank you guys again. And if you'd like to be a guest on the show, there will be a QR code in the bottom corner, somewhere around here. And if you scan it, it'll take you to a form. You fill it out, and we will be in contact with you. I'm Robb O'Day, and this has been TELUS Storyhive On Location, Kelowna.